This is the boot of a IONIQ 5 updated version, rear wheel drive with the big battery pack, 77.4 kilowatt hours. This video is about 5 good and 5 bad things about this specific car. Welcome to It's Only Electric. Let's start with some of the bad things and end up with the good things in mind. And you know what? A lot of you are probably only watching the first part about the bad things, but I will recommend you to watch the whole video to get a balanced view. You need to see the good things to understand my opinion about the car. But let's start with the bad things and end up with the good things. The first thing on the bad list is this. Let's have a look. And that's the absence of a rear windshield wiper. It is a bit too straight to be able to handle the dirt that gets stuck on this one without a wiper. One possibility could be to hide the wiper underneath the aero wing. I'm not sure if that's possible, but that should help avoid adding to the drag coefficient. But a windshield wiper is needed, and if I get it right, it seems like Hyundai is adding a windshield wiper to the next generation or to the next year. So let's see about that, and I hope so. Let's move on to the second thing on the bad list. This is the second thing on the list. It's the seat belt buckle. It is cushioned with some fabric on the rear side, on the back, but most oftenly when someone gets out of the car, it ends up in the wrong direction. That means that the buckle itself hits the hard plastic on the sides, and this happens on both sides in the car, in the back seat. So you need to push it back the right way to avoid a lot of missed sound and vibrating sounds. This gets very annoying easily when driving the car. Could have been avoided with some fabric or some cushioning on this hard plastic. So now I'm inside the IONIQ 5. Let's move on to the bad thing number 3 on my list of 5 bad things, and that's one aspect of the interior. Some materials are not on par with the rest of the car. I want to show you that. The first one is actually the door handle on the inside of the doors. It's very soft plastic and it moves and gives away for some force. As you see, it bends, so this is really not on par with the rest of the car. That's sad. That's an easy thing to change. I mean, it works good, but it doesn't give you the right feeling. There's also a mix of a lot of different materials inside of the car. Some soft touch, but this one, for instance, is, I don't know, I think this part could have been, like this part, a bit more of a soft touch instead of using this hard kind of plastic here, because this is a very visible and touchable area, so it could have been better. This is also a part with a lot of hard plastic, and this is the construction for the heads-up display. So this car is equipped with a head-up display, but this box here really ruins part of the aesthetics on top of the dash. Could have been smaller, or at least they could have used some other materials. I mean, you don't touch this, but still not on par with the rest of the car. So to the fourth bad thing on my list, that's the operating system. I mean, it is a good operating system, but it takes a lot of time to get used to. I have used the car for a couple of days now, but I'm still struggling to remember how to use it in some cases. This is the home screen, for instance, and everything is touchable and pressable, but it's hard to understand that. So for instance, I can press the clock and I get settings for the calendar, etc. That's not a bad thing, but it's hard to just understand without reading the manual. I just came across with it randomly touching the screen. Another example of a bit of a poor software design is when you go back now, you push the home button This doesn't make a lot of sense because when I press home, for me that's the home screen, but it takes me to the application screen instead of the real home screen. Instead of pressing the home icon, I need to press the arrow back icon to get back to the home screen. That's a bit the opposite way for how I should have done it. But I mean, it's small things. It works good, but it takes some time to get used to. This is another example. So let's move to climate menu. You can use both the touch button here on the panel or going through the menu, warmer / ventilation. So this is the ventilation control screen, and I mean, works good, works fine, but it still takes time to understand. I mean, on the right side you have some settings, climate settings it says. Below the climate settings you have something called front climate and rear warmer. This is not settings, this is navigation for this part of the screen. So to be able to navigate between the different screens, you press these two buttons. I mean, it took time for me to understand that this is the menu navigation for the left side and not some random settings. I'm very soon done whining. This is my last pick of the bad things, and that's the support for Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. In a lot of new cars and modern cars you have wireless access to Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. On this version of the IONIQ 5 you need to connect a USB-A cable, not a USB-C cable, not only a cable, a USB-A cable. So you connect it to the USB-A outlet down below in the footwell to be able to use Android Auto or Apple CarPlay. I mean, it works fine whilst connected, but it should be able to get it to work wirelessly. If I understand Hyundai right, there is support for wireless connection, but on the lower trim levels of the IONIQ 5. I really don't get that, because I think it's stable enough. I'm using Android Auto on my Volkswagen ID.3 every day. It works fine. That was the list of bad things. Now it's time for some more pleasant things, the good things. Let's start with the good thing number one, and that's the iconic look and design of this car. I mean, it looks stunning. I love the design of this. It's really something different, and it adds to the segment. If you want to drive around in a unique looking car, this is the one. Retro but futuristic at the same time. The pixel design, the headlights, the lights at the back, the sloping roofline. I mean, it's a great looking car. And that takes me to the second thing on the list, and that's also about the looks. I mean, it looks like a small car. You can't really tell the size of the car until you compare it with other cars and park it with other cars that you think is around the same size. You can't tell by the design. That's a cool thing. The third thing on the list is also about size, but more specifically practicality. I mean, when looking at the boot, it's huge, 527 liters with some extra storage underneath here, a frunk of 57 liters of space. You can also add a tow hitch. I mean, that together with foldable seats makes this car really practical. You can not only fold the back seats, you can also move the whole back seat, the whole back bench forward without folding the seats and still have your kids in the back seat. So let's move on to the fourth good thing on my list, and that's about charging. You have a quick charging capacity of 240 kilowatts. It's an 800 volt battery system. That's a great speed, and you can charge it from 10 to 80% in only 18 minutes. I mean, that's insane. On top of that, you also have the capability of vehicle to load. As I showed in my earlier video, you can connect external devices and power them with your own car. For instance, power tools or camping equipment, etc. That's a great function. And to the last good thing on my list, and that's the Comfort Plus package on the IONIQ 5. I really love this package. It gives you these comfort seats with leg support and ventilation. This is real leather, good or bad, you decide, but it's at least eco processed leather, so that's good. But the seats are really comfortable. They are a bit stiff, but in a good way. Gives you great support both in the back but also the seating parts. And I mean, look at this feature. Let's pretend that we are charging. Only 18 minutes, but still. I will now enter the relaxation mode. Let's see. I will also activate the sounds of nature whilst charging. I mean, the headrest is very soft and great to lean back in. It's really possible to sleep in this car this way if you can lay still for a long time, but it's great. I think that's it. That's my list of 5 good and 5 bad things with the IONIQ 5. In total, it is a great car. I think this is the car for a small family that wants to have a good looking car, iconic car with a great interior space, airy cabin and full of practicality. I mean, a frunk, a big boot, the possibility to add a tow hitch, good range, great technology. I mean, and the charging, yeah, we talked about the charging, great charging. So I think that's it. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. I will create a lot of more content like this for you guys. And as always, stay electric. Thank you for watching. Speak to you soon. I'm going to take a nap before my next video.